whether or not pubbing or pub matches, public matches, or regimental matches are better. So with that being said, we have a bunch of panelists from both sides. We're going to go through and introduce everyone before explaining the rules for the debate. So first, we're going to go through the pro public player side. First, we have Matthias, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Well, I already took up what I meant about this debate, but I can introduce myself for sure. My name is Matthias. I'm with a lot of other pubbies frequently playing. We host our own server and uh, try and make a great time for everybody in the pubs. Yeah, I have nothing more to say.
Thank you. Next on our pro public player side, we have Rollins.
Hi, my name's Rollins. I've been playing War of Rights for a couple years since after the artillery update in 2020. I'm gonna estimate that over 90% of my hours played are in pub matches, but I have been uh, part of several regimental communities and have experience playing and leading private matches. And currently with the 42nd Pennsylvania.
Thank you. And then our last person on the pro public matches side, we have Oliferd.
Je suis Napolifeld. Je suis l'empereur. Hello. Oh yeah, there's a little bit of French. So I'm Ollie from the 30th Ohio. I co-lead it with Daz. I love pub matches. I've been playing this game actually. I got it when it first released. I want to say I think 2018 is when it first released into early access, and I played a few rounds, but I didn't really touch it until a year later, and right before the artillery update. And then since then, I've been playing it more consistently. And yeah, not really much else to say.
All right. I appreciate you all introducing yourselves. Now let's move on to the pro regimental gameplay side. First, we have MJ.
I'm MJ, Brigadier General of Walker's Division in I Corps. I'm on the regimental side.
Thank you. And then we have Goondog.
Yeah, Goondog, God Emperor of Man, and 6 Georgia. Also, Walker's Division, I Corps. Been playing this since 2020, I think. Question?
Answer.
All right. Thank you. And then our last panelist for the pro regimental match side is Potato Soup.
Hello, I'm Potato Soup 69. I'm a corporal in the IPB. That's about it.
All right. Thank you all for introducing yourselves. Let's move on to the rules of the debate. So there will be 5 rounds in this debate. The first round is opening statements. Each person will get 3 minutes to say whatever they want. And then from there, we'll move on to the open conversation round. It'll be 10 minutes long, where it's just an open floor. People can say whatever they want, and people can respond instantaneously. Our third round will be another closed round, where each person will have 3 minutes to say whatever they want, a rebuttal, if you want to call it that. And then we'll move on to a fourth round, which is a 10 minutes of open conversation. And then we'll have a last round, which is a closed round of closing statements, and each candidate will get 3 minutes to say that. So that being said, let's start the debate. Our first round here, opening statements. Matthias on the pro public gameplay side, you have 3 minutes for your opening statements. You may begin.
God damn it, again?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'll say it again. So there's no better or worse than one the other, even though I'm pro pub. But I think that if the regimental battles would lose their use of heavy use of Discord and heavy use of Steam voice chat, then regimental battles would be perfect. But they are not, so that's why I think pub games are better.
All right. Thank you. Let's move on to our pro regimental side. MJ, you have 3 minutes for your opening statement. You may begin.
Sure. I'll start off with, I think regimental play far exceeds public play in War of Rights for a myriad of reasons. But the clearest and most obvious difference to me is the lack of organization in public play, leading to misplays from almost everyone, from leadership all the way down to privates, depending on where they are in the battlefield. There's constant Rambos, and not just Rambos with rifles. There's Rambo officers. There's Rambo flags that can and will throw your matches from time to time, and it really sucks when you have those. From a leadership perspective, from my view, in public play, you can't really rely on many of the players to actually play the game. Some of them will go AFK at random times, and some just won't listen to your commands as officer. And that's really, really damaging to the way I would like to play War of Rights that I'll expand on later. Communication is also restricted to the in-game chat only, so it's difficult, if not impossible, to coordinate across the map. And even if you try to do so, there's no guarantee the plan will actually happen. This makes a lot of elements of War of Rights in regimental play just cannot happen in public. There's no coordinated charges. There's no talking, oh, we're about to lose the B point, we need reinforcements, that kind of stuff, you know? There's none of that. Public play falls short, in my opinion, because of these things. As I said in the recent Conquest debate, I love tactical, in-depth War of Rights where you win because you outsmart the enemy. You pull some Sun Tzu out and predict what the enemy will do before they do it. That's the real joy in War of Rights for me. In public games, this Sun Tzuing, this predicting, is just the use of, like, to get the win out, is just using my voice to create basic organization and then killing the enemy that doesn't have any organization. Like getting everyone to go in a certain direction is usually enough to win some of these pub games. And also in pub stomps, where I take my regiment into public play, where we have the prior organization, and we do have all of these things sorted out. We can do that for recruitment purposes most of the time, but we're showing off what it's like to be organized, and some people really like that. I have to respect my roots. I come from pubbies way back in like 2015, 2016. I played public battles in Mountain Blade, North and South, also developed by Campfire. But the moment I joined a regiment and I saw what it was like, I got hooked. And I've remained in the Line of Battle community ever since then, and that's why I'm on this side of the debate.
All right, thank you. Now back to the pro public gameplay side. We have Rollins. You have 3 minutes for your opening statements. You may begin.
Thank you. So, yeah, just taking a look at my experience, and when I look at the hours I've played, and then I think about how much of that's been in public matches, and I meditate on it. It's not because someone's putting a gun to my head and saying I have to play public matches. It's because I really do enjoy them. Um, I do enjoy private matches too, but they are a very different experience. Um, Focusing more on the the public side of it, I think there's a lot of purity in that game mode when you just approach it in a casual way. Um, just some of the highlights that I know we'll probably touch on later on, but I just want to get out there in the opening. Um, it's more readily available. Like there is a public server going on constantly in War of Rights, at least one, and I'd say it's populated enough past noon-ish or afternoonish for the North Americans. Uh, More or less. I mean, it's kind of seasonal in nature, but you can get a game of more than 100 people, which even some private matches settle for that kind of low pop. It's not uncommon. Um, and it feels like you're leading up several platoons or helping coordinate with several platoons. And I'd say it's a very worthwhile game with that kind of population. Very satisfying. And with the benefit of just more availability, it can fit more schedules for more people because it's just available more frequently on a daily basis for a longer range of time. Um, some other aspects to public server play that you don't necessarily get with private server play is really the ability to meet newer players or newer personalities that you wouldn't see. You're able to switch factions pretty much at will and see the other side of the ball and how they operate. Um, you're able to play different roles like officer, NCO, musician, flag bearer, and there's just a lot less stress from you know the public side of things and being able to change roles, and the expectations are certainly lower, but I find that to be a huge benefit when you're trying to experiment or just go outside your comfort zone.
All right, your 3 minutes is up. Thank you for your
Okay.
opening statements. Up, we'll move on back to our pro regimental gameplay side. Goondog, you have 3 minutes for your opening statements. You may begin.
Well, first, a little history about me. Me and a buddy of mine first got this game, and on our first map we ever jumped in, of course, I didn't read a crap about this game, so I had no idea how it was. We got lost on, I believe it was Progress Mill, and somebody found me from Fourth Texas and recruited us immediately. So I've not really had that public play, I guess, experience. But one of the things I look at and is the community aspect of this. I don't know how it is on the public side, but I do know I wouldn't get to meet all these people, all the people that I know now, all these other regiments and everything like that, without being in a regiment almost, without playing the regimental game and everything like that. It's really hard to, I guess it would be really hard to network with folks in the public world. Just my observation, of course. And because everyone's a little bit quicker. Now, I mean, of course, I've played in some of the public games and everything like that, and a lot of times it's just me just wanting to jump on a game and just shoot stuff. I mean, I don't really jump on and get an officer or anything. I just want to get on as a private, just go out and shoot stuff, and it's actually a nice change of pace. But I don't believe I would know 2/3 of the community I know now if I would never have joined a regiment.
All right. Thank you for your opening statements. Let's move back to our pro public player side. Oliver, you have 3 minutes for your opening statement. You may begin.
Alrighty. So I also played Napoleonic Wars way back in the day. Played the public side, created my own group attached to the 0/0th. For anybody who's veterans of Napoleonic Wars, you'll know who they were. They're cool guys. So I played events and public rounds in Napoleonic Wars. And honestly, so for that game, because the public side was it lacked all of the tools that War of Rights has to help keep people organized. So it was pretty much no brainer in that game. Yeah, the publics are better, especially for organization. Fast forward to Hold Fast, which I also played a while, and that's where I met my co-leader 30th Ohio Daz in, because he had a regiment in there. He would do pubby stuff, and that one too, like the public gameplay, even though you could organize it a little better because voice chat was still lacking, just because it still lacked tools, the regimental play was better. So one of the reasons I like the public play in War of Rights is because, like it advertises in Trusty's own words, is that it helps bring a level of organization to the public server, and it's not locked behind a passworded event that happens maybe once, twice, 3 times a week. It's all the time. And the cool thing about this is that the public server is usually populated enough to have decent fights most of the time, especially when it's most active. And I've had a lot of really fun times there, and I do admit you're more consistently going to get organization in events, just because everyone's there for that. But that's not to say that it doesn't happen even a numerous amount on the public server. It really depends who's playing, and there's been times where I've had more organized rounds on the pubby that felt more satisfying than rounds on an event that felt way less organized. Again, depends on the regiments involved there. There are certain COs on the other side, like Fuse lately. Blake, he's another one. Mucha, they'll give you good fights if you're a unit officer looking for a good time on the pubby. And they're all of my NCOs, every single one of them who now CO in events today, they were all people when I met outside of the regiment that I co-led with, and we worked up that ability to communicate through that using text chat. It's obviously not as in your face and obvious as voice chat and Steam, but it's also, in my opinion, less annoying and less intrusive. Because sometimes, like, I mute that shit so I can actually concentrate on winning the fucking battle. Because sometimes it's just autistic screaming in the voice chat, in game, in Discord, and in the Steam chat. So it's like you're not really avoiding anything bad there. It's a mixed bag. It really depends who you're playing with. And I know on the public server, it's more often the servers are more often filled. Like you more consistently get big fights than, at least for in my experience, a lot of the NA events I've been to, a lot of them usually cap out at like 200, 210. Most of the time, it's around the 170s, 180s. But on the public server, I've been able to consistently get really big rounds of near full.
All right,
And
your 3
sometimes
minutes is up. Let's move on to our last person in the first round of opening statements. Potato Soup is on the pro regimental gameplay side. You have 3 minutes for your opening statements. You may begin.
I just like I guess the order that's within regimental gameplay over the chaos in public gameplay. Because in regimental gameplay, you can have actual organization, which sort of resembles the actual, like, it sort of adds the historical accuracy, uh, and it's just really beautiful to look at. I mean, just your your three most popular videos, for example, they're regimental matches. So that's just really it. I just find it to look more better than the disgusting chaos within public matches.
All right, thank you. So we're moving on to our second round of open conversation here. This will go on for 10 minutes. 10 minutes. Keep it civil. Anyone is free to start the floor. With that being said, 10 minutes of open conversation is begin.
Hey, how do I spell your name? MJ Teco? Mcheko? How do you say
Just
it?
call me MJ.
MJ, all right. So, I noticed you said that in the public games you have none of organization, none of this, none of that, and I get your point, but there's a lot of good battles in the pubs, and like Ollie said, one of my best matches has been in the pubs. So, yeah, but you have good fair points why regimental battles are so much fun and organized and immersive. But it all depends on the regiments you play with too. You can have bad co-officers and or non-organization in red battles, also in the pub battles. So
I mean, yes, you can have great battles, but at the same time, during these pub matches, like, uh, no matter how good it's going for you, like, your men have no discipline, so they'll just go off and Rambo, and that can cost you a good amount of tickets, and they can
it,
completely throw the game for you.
Well, that depends because there's been a lot of rounds I've played where because the officers on both teams were not only smart but charismatic. Like at the end of a 200 player round, there was 40 out of lines for both sides. Maybe that's still high for regiment rounds, but I mean normally I see it in the 80s and 120s. A lot of this stuff is very situational and dependent on who you're playing with. I just find it more. You can more consistently get bigger fights in the public server.
Yeah,
Well,
but you're also more consistent to play with a more disciplined group within regimental play rather than the randomness of public matches.
Yeah,
my
and
question, my
if that's what you're going for, then that's perfectly fine. Like if you need to play with organized people in order to have fun, then yeah, that's how needs to be.
my question for, I guess, for the guys that for the pro public games, what do you think? What is best for the longevity of the game?
So, I wanted to bring it back,
Such as,
and
okay,
So,
Well,
Goondog, I think
such
I think both communities or sub communities in the game are, pretty important and appeal to different people, let's say, right? Like I was emphasizing a lot of the pros that kind of help someone who's just got like a casual commitment just kind of get their feet wet in the game, and I think there's a lot of value there, like Ollie and Matthias, and more quality than I think what's been portrayed a little bit on average here for the public play. Um, like you say, Goondog, with the community you've come to love with your regiment that you signed up with and had a great time with, and I've had a great time with all sorts of regimental people that I met in the pubby at first. Um, People like Matthias, Oliferd, and many of the other people that I, even co-own a server with right now. Um, all of those people I met as regulars in the public server area, and I'd say though there's a lot of turnover with a lot of new people and a lot of new blood, I do think there's a real steady group of regulars on the public side of things that does feel like a consistent community, particularly on both factions there. Like it's not too dissimilar to what you're describing for yourself on your side with the
right,
regiment.
and I was trying to explain. I'm not trying to put out the regiment as the alpha or whatever. What I'm saying is I don't, you know, I see a lot of guys that are playing public and everything like that, and they eventually join regiments, and for the community aspect of it, I've seen a bunch of guys, start out as pubby players, and what, let's make us a regiment because let's take it to the rest of these guys. And to me, and of course, there's going to be there's going to be others that are going to be different, but for the majority of it, you'll meet some guys in the public land, and there's a chance you'll never see these guys again, or that kind of stuff like that, and they can be great guys, and but I do believe that public versus some of these private matches we have, you got a lot more of a variable of who shows up. And I think that's what we've been kind of skipping around. We could have times where public is just as organized, or if not more organized, because of like what Oliver said or Matthias said. You've got a really good public officer that's able to give enough charisma to get these guys, to doing what. But I think that's more of an exception because I would almost say it's almost maybe 70-30 of whenever it happened, when 70% of the time it's,
Ye-
you're
One
going to have issues.
one quick note on that. There's a lot more public games, so even though it might be a minority of public games, it does translate to, I'd say, like 5 to 10 or so matches a day that are pretty top tier
Yeah,
quality.
yeah, yeah. I'll never disagree with you on that. I've been a part of, and like I said, I don't really take officer unless we're doing some sort of pub stomp or anything like that. I like to just play, play normally. I mean, I'm sure Oliferd or I'm sure MJ. It's nice every now and then to play a match where you don't have much responsibility. Which I'm sure a lot of you guys, if you run a line or anything like that, it's nice to do that. Nice to just kind of have fun. Not
Oh
worried
yeah.
about. So, and I do see a reason. Now, a lot of people use public matches to recruit and everything like that, but I do see, um, and I do see a good. Our public matches need to be healthy because it's going to grow the game. But I think eventually, you know, a lot of people are going to join some sort of regiment, being a loose association or being something, just so they can keep track of somebody.
So,
Just like you, Rollins, and just like you, Oliferd. You guys started out. We started out in public lands, and now, you know, you guys are part of units.
so to come back at that, yeah, I started off as just playing the pubs for like a year and a half, and then I made a regiment. But I still go back to the pubs, and you see me here on the pro pubby side, and I play them pretty regularly too. And I make sure that our regiment does, because as you just said, a healthy puppy is good for the game. Because what is a new player going to do if they come on and they see all these password locked servers that have all these people in it, but no server unpassworded servers? they're going to leave. They're going to think that they wasted their time. But if they come on and they see that there's at least one public server that's decently populated, and they get in there, and if it's one of us in there who knows how to lead and we just show them a good time, they're more likely to stay. And I don't see people joining as a regiment as proof of them not wanting to play publics anymore, because there's a metric fuck ton of regimental people who I consider like buddies in the game with, that I met through playing the pubby, and they still play in the public server. There's a
Yeah,
lot of
I
IVB
did.
guys I've seen too. A lot of Fifth Florida guys, Second MS guys. There's one I see always play on the Union. I forget his name right now, but I wonder why he doesn't play CSA. But yeah,
Well,
sorry.
yeah, yeah. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. But yeah, I do say I don't think that we should just quit. Regiments should quit playing pubbies. I think you brought up an excellent point. I think there needs to be a balance. I do think there needs to be a balance of public and private play, because you're going to have some people that work weekends. You're going to have some people that work during these game nights and everything, and they're not going. They just want to go and have a good time, play a couple of matches, and that's it. And that's great, because you know what? It's they paid their money to buy this game too, and so maybe there needs to be some sort of balance, because nobody starts this game in a regiment. Now let's take that back some. A majority of the people that start this game are not immediately in a regiment. So, for these regiments to be healthy and everything like that, they have to have a good pool. But yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, I've not had the chance to do it lately, but every now and then I love just jumping on and just playing. It's good.
I do believe that the balance you speak of has already been struck, because when I first started playing, the regimental community's sentiment towards the public server was, I don't know, it was really, really oddly snobby, and that's changed ever so more in favor in the pubby side, more of a balanced opinion now. So I honestly have no complaints. I think there's enough people on the public server on the day-to-day to keep it popped enough to have fun times, and I think all of us are just waiting for whatever the devs are coming out with next.
I'd like to reference, there was a time in War of Rights, a long time ago, before password servers existed, when there were no passwords on any servers, and that time you would try to go and have your regimental event, and then, or someone would try to stream it, and someone would just mic up and start screaming profanities that would get you banned on Twitch. There are other times where you'd have a person grab your flag, spawn in as your flag in this regimental event that doesn't have a password. They would just run into the enemy and throw the game for you, right? Or they would start ramboing with large sections of men that they would pull off, or they would start directly trying to countermand the officer. Remember, the game was in its infancy at this point. It's required that public matches have to exist, but for me, I just can't. I don't like it when people just do that in games, and I understand that in public play, oftentimes that just doesn't happen. But it can happen, right? I understand that you guys have bought your own server, so you have admin, so you can get rid of people like that. But that's one of the biggest benefits of regimental play, especially back then, is we can control the people that are coming in our events, and if people are throwing our events, or if they're being sufficiently toxic in voice chat, text chat, we just ban them. And it seems like you guys ban people in the quote unquote public, the open servers too. I suppose you can call them open
Yeah,
ones.
all the public service that we host together. We have like actually we permanent banned about, I think it's 15 different accounts or something, 15-20 accounts that constantly causes havoc, articles, flag trolling, stuff like that. And
Probably
after
the same
these guys,
person, to be
yeah,
honest with you. Yeah.
well, we already proved that at least 10 of those accounts belong to two people. So
All right. With that being said, that is our 10 minutes, more like 12, but it's still great. 10 minutes of open conversation for round two. So we're moving on to round three now. Each candidate will get 3 minutes to respond, say something new, whatever they want, but they just have 3 minutes like we did for the opening statements. We're doing the same order as we did before. So with that being said, Matthias, you have 3 minutes. You may begin.
So I'll just pick up where I left off. So I think that you know, we tried to make a good community in the pubbies, and we got a lot of help from a lot of good guys from pubbies, from regimentals. Over 40 people have helped us, to make a good non-troll, troll-free environment. And so I hope that for you regimentals, you give the pubbies a new chance, and that you often come to the battlefield in the pubbies, try to lead sometimes. I think it's good for the pub community that more regimentals come and, show them how it's done. So yeah, that's all I want to say.
All right, thank you. Now on to the pro regimental gameplay side. MJ, you have 3 minutes. You may begin.
Okay. I have a whole bunch of things. Rollins mentioned that you have the ability to like switch factions, play different roles, all that kind of stuff in those public servers. I think that's both a gift and a curse. Because if you're able to switch factions, what's preventing you to just switch to the winning side if you're losing? There's no investment oftentimes, unless you're the one leading. If you're just like someone on the line and you're losing a lot, or you don't like your officer, you can switch to the other side and you'll just win. There's no real construction you can do with that, right? You're losing and you're losing for a reason oftentimes, in any game of War of Rights. But if you can just press escape and switch to the winning side, why keep losing, right? Especially unless you're like trying to learn something from that, or if you're like stuck by auto balance. Um, the thing switching things to different roles, I think it's good generally that you can have people switch to like arty, infantry. You'll get random people and officers, but that's also a gift and a curse. If you have random people and officers, sometimes the people who are actually good at being an officer won't get that officer slot unless they bring like a regiment with them to downvote the person in the officer slot, right? That's leadership is such an important thing in a lot of these events. And if you can't get that officer slot, if you're not the server admin, or if you're not, don't bring people with you, it's really hard to actually get that officer thing with a star above you, the ability to place lines, your little yellow in the text chat so you can actually tell people what to do. That's a really negative thing. I will say that in private events, there is a problem where we don't have, I suppose, a large rotation of people in command. Like even though they want to be in command, that's because we value excellence. We want the best people, like Goondog, myself, or hell, a lot of the sussy guys, Olaford, if you command during events. We want people who know how to command. That's one of the biggest things for regimental events. We want to have a really high degree, or the highest we can get, of gameplay. That's all I got.
All right, thank you. Back to the pro public gameplay side. Rollins, you have 3 minutes.
Man, these 3 minutes go by fast, but a lot of good points from MJ there. I do want to say that there are a not uncommon amount of pub games that have a very decent amount of organization. I think a lot of what MJ says, like from his first round about playing at a high level, Sun Tzu level, strategy level, it is true that when you're in a public match, the frontier of what you can do is a little bit more limited by the realism of you needing to coordinate with 3 other COs that may or may not have a history with you or even same understanding. But it is an interesting challenge to create a strategy like that. And when you do make relationships with people in the community, sometimes you're able to actually play at a high level. Like when me and Ollie played pubs together, co-leading on servers matches,
Oh, Cooks.
it can be just as satisfying as me and Machado leading on like a private match. You know what I mean? Just the same. Like honestly, like almost identical. It is kind of like a when lightning strikes kind of thing, or the stars have to align. But it's not that bad. Like it really isn't. Now, I do want to say that just a quick thing about the types of private matches that I have seen. In general, the average size of a regiment is not that large, whereas in the pubby, there's a little variation for sure between the sizes of the different in-game regiments, but there's going to be 4 blobs in a pubby on each side, generally speaking. Usually it's 2, to be honest, and the new company system kind of gives the option for the different companies to split off, but it's something between 2 to 4 blobs, you know. And I do think a game of this kind of caliber is best played with larger groups and firing lines, essentially. And I do think you can generalize a lot of private matches as kind of being a lot of smaller groups fanning out in the map and not really blobbing up and making the same juicy kind of firing lines. And I do think it's almost like a different kind of game mode. You know what I mean? It's sometimes it does kind of coalesce and it's actually like a pitched battle with but I would generalize it with just a little bit more factionalization when it comes to the private matches, and it's a little harder to digest for me on a strategic level because it's just a lot of different groups, sometimes maybe more than 4, right, that you need to coordinate or communicate with, and it's kind of difficult because there's a lot of names to remember, a lot of group names to remember, and
All right, your 3 minutes
anyways,
is
I'll
up.
cut it there. Yep.
Thank you. Gundong, you have 3 minutes for the pro regimental gameplay side. 3 minutes is starting.
Yep, as much as we need balance and everything, and of course we need some sort of pubby land, which of course we call it. But in the end, I really do feel, and of course I don't have much experience just playing only public, but I do think regimental play or organized play will keep people in the game longer, maybe, than just people playing public. I think it opens up people to the wider community that they might not get a chance to just play in public. But I completely understand why people only want to play public, and that's for them. But I do think for the longevity of the game and everything like that, open them up to the regimental play and everything like that will keep them in the game longer than just doing the public thing.
All right, thank you. Back to our pro public gameplay side. We have Oliver. You have 3 minutes. You may begin.
All right. So MJ, I have led in both publics and events, and yeah, I do enjoy both. And getting back to what Rollins was saying, they do feel very different. And I remember one of the time in the beginning, one of my biggest complaints of a lot of regimental matches when I was just a private in one of them was the fact that there was just so many just different groups of usually small sizes, like and 10 to 8, 15 maybe, and then maybe 1 or 2 groups of 30 or 40. Whereas in the public rounds, we can sometimes get people to actually even out the company, so it's 4 big lines versus just 2 and then 2 small ones. And so Fog of War also, like you mentioned, a lot of you need organization, and I get that. And sometimes I have to admit I pull my hair out during some of these rounds, just because, like, not because I'm losing, but it's annoying to have to keep track of so many things. But at the same time, Fog of War, this game is built around Fog of War. It's a very it's an aspect that, in my opinion, kind of enhances it. So the lack of voice chat for me, and sometimes the confusion that ensues, is like, even though I mean, it can be annoying, but it's also an enjoyable kind of annoying, if that makes any sense. If you guys have played Cuphead, that'll probably hit home there. I really don't. Yeah, I don't really have much else to say. I can't really say definitively which one's better, because this is largely an opinion piece anyway. But I can say that most of my 2,000 hours of the game has been on the pubby, probably somewhere close to 90 to 95%, like Rollins. In spite of me having been in a regiment been in this regiment for a year now, and then before that I was in another one for a year. And I've said my piece.
All right, thank you. Last person for this third round, we have Potato Soup on the pro regimental gameplay. You have 3 minutes. You may begin.
Yeah, I just wanted to add on to what MJ said about the ability to change roles. I also have to say uh, it's a pretty big con because you're gonna find in pub matches like people using these useless roles that all they do is just really just die. Like people spawn in as musicians, doing nothing because no one in a pub match knows a single bugle call. And on average, you're gonna find like 8 people on artillery. Why would artillery need 8 people? And all these people are going to do is just get like on artillery. All they're gonna do is just get overrun and die, and cost like 15 tickets just from like 3 out of line deaths because they don't have anything to use to fight.
All right, thank you. Now we're moving on to our fourth round. Conversation, 10 minutes, open floor. Whoever wants to start, you may begin.
All right, I suppose I will. There's a lot of talk, I suppose, of voice chat, Discord, TeamSpeak, all of these things. For me, when I can like get someone in a Discord, it makes it so much easier for me to like reach out to them, talk to them, get them set up with the game if they need to do, give them advice, tell them when the next event is, just have them in a voice chat, start to understand, hey, where they're from, all that kind of stuff, what they do, um, what got them in the war rights. It's a lot easier just get someone in Discord and have a conversation with them. When it comes to like event time, I understand it can be stressful, being in like a Steam chat with a whole bunch of other officers trying to figure out what's the best plan, or just in a chat, even as a private, hearing your commanding officer, screech commands at you. I understand that. For me, that's one of the things I like about this game. It's not a negative, right? I like the chaos in the commander chat of us trying to figure out what the best plan is. When I was back, sergeant and a private all the way back then, I liked how into it my officers got, and how they tried to make up these plans, and you know, I like trying to see or hear their gears turning. Um, that was one of the pluses, and the community aspect, just like Koondog mentioned, was a really big thing too.
Well, so I actually think that is cool, and that's one of the things I like. But that also happens on the pubby quite a bit, especially when you got any three of us here leading on the same team. We say all our plans in the open. We don't really use Discord at all when we're playing pubs, and so a lot of the people on the pubby do have the access to that. But again, it depends. It goes back to what I said earlier. It's not that this stuff is absent from the public server, or that I think public's regimental games do it better, but it's just this organization is going to happen more often and more regularly with regimental games. But for me personally, like, I noticed that the things that you and I like are opposite. Like, the reasons I like something is the reason you dislike it, and the reason you like something is the reason I dislike it. But I think it's kind of cool that this game can be so varied, to have opposites like that, and still have those two people enjoy the game. So I think it just comes down to you doing you, and me doing me,
Exactly.
and that's cool. I'll probably
I'm
play.
happy.
I'll probably play with alongside if you or against you during the HDC later.
Yeah, probably.
Your first core is in there, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you guys are too.
Oh yeah, we are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think on the comm side of things, that I think you bring up a lot of interesting points there about the hearing the plans and being able to communicate them well and more clearly with the additional software used to chat and stuff like that. It's not part of like the base game for sure, and it's a little extra setup um, to get there. Um, and I'll say this, that like when I joined my first regiment, and my experience as a private was definitely like a lot more muted. Like we all had a decent amount of experience in the game, and we kept our tongue unless it was something tactical. But because the officers are using a different channel of communication that I do not have access to, it's actually a lot of silence followed, by commands. And, if, the officer has time and they're going to try to communicate to us, what the bigger picture is perhaps and stuff like that. But oftentimes that it's not really clearly portrayed until like maybe the post match or something like that. So I'd say like in a match where there's low visibility like Eastwoods or something like that, you're not really going to get a good sense of what's going on. Whereas in a pub match, because everyone's using like a come all around the campfire kind of style of local comms, it's definitely a lot clearer like what the chaos is, and I find that way more immersive and just way more engaging at the lower levels as a private or NCO type, you know what I mean? So I mean, there, that's another example of what Ollie's talking about, where it's like it's a blessing and a curse depending on your point of view, and I kind of enjoy that more than I don't like it. You know what I mean? When it's absent. I
Uh,
guess I guess one more side note on that, unless you had something direct, and it's real quick. I know in my last regiment we were talking about how NCOs in our regiment felt like they didn't really have as much to do because the additional software was so effective for allowing the CO to basically communicate without the need of someone echoing the orders down the line because the software doesn't, dissipate in volume with distance. So like the traditional need for an NCO to echo orders to parts of the line that couldn't physically hear them isn't really there. You know what I mean? Whereas in a public match with a decent pop and a large regiment size, it's absolutely critical. Like the games where you have experienced NCOs that are doing that, it's night and day, and like it's very clear like what that role is supposed to be.
we have our NCOs drilled to do exactly that in every regimental event. So not only do we say our commander like in the team speak, we have our NCOs drilled to say the same exact thing in game. So if there's other regiments around us, or if someone just has for whatever reason got overspoken during TeamSpeak, they can still hear it. And if you heard like silence between commands, boy, you got to talk to Goondog because man, oh man, is that channel down there that we use? There's constant talk. I remember down there, with people just talking about the wildest stuff sometimes, at other times just about strats. Um, it's it's different things.
All right. Well, I've been kind of waiting, but I do understand, and I guess I can understand both sides. I think I think you guys bring a great argument, and I think the organized play has got also great. So maybe that balance is the correct answer to this. Just having a good balance.
Yeah, one of the best private events I've ever been to is actually a private event that Pete Pickett's brigade used to host on Friday nights a couple years ago. They called it like historical Friday nights, and they made the rules such that no one could use Discord. Sometimes, if pop was low for the attending regiments, they would open it up to the pubs. But what we got was, like a historical kind of thing, and no text chat even. So it was literally, it felt very much like a pub, but with high quality people at the reins, and they had to send runners and try to understand what people were doing just based on looking on their troop movements from like 200 yards away or whatever. I think that was like almost a good hybrid thing that kind of had the best of both worlds.
Oh, Rollins, I'm glad that you said that because I wanted to talk about this. And so I talked about briefly about my time playing Holdfast, but one of my favorite things that they would do, and this was actually, it was weird. The developers were very involved in the community, but they would hold these public line battles where both teams would have regiments on them, but one team would be the team that they would tell all the pubbies to go to, and they would give the smallest regiment there the charge of taking charge of the pubbies, and all the other regiments would go off and do stuff. So I've seen public line battles in War of Rights, and they don't really resemble that. It's just the regiments doing stuff, and then kind of avoiding the pubbies like lepers, and then just leaving them and not doing anything with them. I would urge anybody who wants to start any public line battles to do it the way Holdfast does, to where they have one regiment that's in the one company and they put all the public players in there or non-regimentals in there, and they put all the other regimentals in their own group so they can coordinate the way they like. And that would be a good way to achieve like what Rollins was talking about with that event.
And if we do have enough time, Eagle, do we have enough time, or are
30
we at...
seconds.
Okay, so just one quick thing. This game has come a long way in the 2 years I've been playing it in terms of tools for moderation and server admins. Like how MJ was talking about with like it being extremely frustrating not to even like kick people out that are griefing a whole match that many people are playing. There have been a lot of good tools and quality of life changes that the developers have made over the last 2 years to allow server admins to have more precise control over the servers and both the public and the private realm. Just the ability to change map sets without having to restart the server and boot everyone. These are huge changes that really do increase the quality of at least the public server that me and Matthias own. And I really like the direction they're going in, and really wish that they continue adding features like that and additional stuff to help find people that are griefing or bullying people or something in chat or something. This happens a lot less frequently than it used to, but you know, it's just a few more tweaks away from probably achieving what fully released games actually achieve.
All right. The open conversation is done. We're moving on to our fifth and final round here of closing remarks. I couldn't roll off my tongue. But yep, we have closing remarks now from every candidate. We're going to go in the same order that we did. You each get 3 minutes. With that being said, Matthias, for the pro public gameplay side, you have 3 minutes for your closing statements. You may begin.
Yeah, I'll just be very short. So give the pubbies a chance for all you regimentals. Play it more. There's a lot of good regiments who's coming and doing officer slots, in the pubs. And but I wish more would do it. We will do what we can, to like ensure Trolls doesn't mess up with things. Also, we've done some public events where we have offer like a pub officer event, and we would invite all of you to participate in that if you want. Those are pretty fun. So yeah, then we reserve the officer slots and have it like an organized chaos. So yeah, that's it.
All right. Thank you. Now let's move on to our pro regimental side. MJ, you have 3 minutes for your closing remarks. You may begin.
I'll just reference a lot of the things that I did in my opening and also during the conversation. I just like the more organization. I like organization, not in the chaos. I just don't like chaos. I suppose. Just Rambos, flags, too many people on Artie, not the ability to lead like charges from, with other units from across the map at different times, right? Um, like I said earlier, I like the Sun Tzu part of the game. I think that's probably why I'm on the regimental side. I understand it's very important to have both sides of the community be active and going in order to ensure the highest population continue playing the game. I think everybody here wants the best for War Rights and wants it to grow. So that's why I'm not gonna diss out anybody, you know. But yeah, that's the part of the game that I like the most is the organized stuff. As long as the avenue from pubby to regimental is open, and as long as the people keep joining the game, I'll be happy.
All right. Thank you. Now moving back to our pro public game side, we have Rollins. You have 3 minutes for your closing remarks. You may begin.
Yeah, so I'd say the public server play for War of Rights is strong. It's very engaging. It's plentiful. There are plenty of quality matches to be had. If you're a North American player in particular, you'll have access to the highest populations in the middle to late evening. Um, those are very fun. They're definitely a different beast, like MJ is saying. You are risking every match, being paired up with someone that may not know the game or may not have the same perspective of the game as you do. However, in private matches, you may also be paired up with people that also don't agree with your way to win Cook's countercharge or whatever map exists. And at the end of the day, it's teamwork that makes the dream work, and you'll have to compromise, cajole, use whatever social skills you have to, convince people or compromise and do what they want. And next time around, maybe they'll do what you want. You know what I mean? It's a small community, and people will remember you if you treat them right. You know what I mean? And I think it's a very rewarding game, both levels, but I do prefer the public one.
All right. Thank you. Now, moving back to our pro regimental gameplay side, we have Goondog. You have 3 minutes for your closing remarks. You may begin.
All right, look, I think we're beating around the bush or the cornstalk, whatever, freaking weirdos want to say it. I think I think everybody here will agree with me, they just won't say it. Most of these guys that play just freaking pubbies couldn't make it into a regiment. All right, that's the truth, and that is the truth out of all of it. All right, most of these people couldn't freaking make it in a regiment. The people that do play public matches probably don't think they're good enough, and at least they're smart enough to know that they're not good enough for prime time. Not everybody can be in the Super Bowl. Not everybody's going to get a trophy. So some people need to just suck it up and play AAA ball. I just dropped my mic.
Goddamn it, Goondog.
Woo!
All right. Thank you. Now let's move back to the pro public side. Oliver, you have 3 minutes for your closing remarks. You may begin.
In response to El Commandant's stupid remarks, your mother was a hamster and your father smelt of elderberries. Now,
my mother was a beautiful Baptist woman. My mother was a beautiful Baptist woman.
Your mother was in my bed last night. Honestly, I can't. I don't really have anything else to say. I haven't said. I really love the pubs. I love events too, but like Rollins, I love the pubs more. There's a lot of really cool people I play with on a day-to-day basis. But yeah, getting back to it, you are a silly man, Mr. Goondog. You cannot cut it in the pubbies. You cannot get anyone to follow you. How dare you try to say that we could not make it in a regiment? The entire public server is our regiment. Huh. I'm done.
Thank you. Now, moving on to our last person in this debate, Potato Soup. To end this off on the pro regimental gameplay side, you have 3 minutes. You may begin for your closing remarks.
Okay. Pub matches are good, they have their moments, and they certainly, they have a lot of numbers, which, makes them a lot of fun. However, because of the side I'm on, I'm obligated to call you three clowns and ask you to kindly return to your car and leave.
All right. Thank you. And with that being said, that is the end of this public versus regimental gameplay debate. Please let us know what you thought in the comment section below. Let us know if you have any ideas for debates going forward. I hope you enjoyed and have a good rest of your night. See you guys in the next one.